Hello and good morning. Do you want to know how you can negotiate a lower monthly mortgage payment right from the start of buying a house? Make sure you stay tuned to this one because I'm going to tell you how with a 2-1 buy down mortgage program. Good morning again, everybody. My name is Jared Allison. I'm a real estate agent with Century 21 Alton Clark here in the state of Florida, mostly Central Florida. I live over in Volusia County. This is morning cup of real tea. I've got my tea here. Hopefully you guys are watching. And today I'm going to be talking about how to lower your monthly mortgage payment right from the start. There's a really good program, I guess you could call it a program, but it's called a mortgage 2-1 buy down. And I'll explain here in just a second what that means. But let me get some slides up on the screen here so you can see and follow along. All right, there we go. So a 2-1 buy down. So what is a 2-1 buy down? So it's basically when you're buying a house, it's you're gonna get a loan for the house, right? So it's a type of traditional loan that allows for a seller to contribute towards the borrower's mortgage payments for the first 2 years. So in other words, the seller of the house is going to contribute towards the first 2 years of payments of your mortgage. Basically, this gives you the borrower a reduced mortgage payment for the first and the second year as you get settled into the new home. And I'm going to go over some of the actual numbers in just a few minutes here. The payments are based on an effective reduced interest rate of 2% lower than the actual locked rate for the first 12 months. So, in other words, a 7% interest rate would be lowered to 5% the first year. And then in the second 12 months, the payments are adjusted to a reduced interest rate of 1% lower of the actual locked rate. So, the first year, it's going to be a 5%, you're going from a 7% to a 5%. And then that second year, it goes from a 7% down to a 6%. And again, we'll look at some of the actual numbers here in just a minute. All right. So, as a seller, why would you offer money? So, in this market right now, it's it's still very competitive. It's not what it was a couple of years ago, but now we have higher interest rates to deal with, and it has become very difficult for buyers to actually purchase the home that they were originally looking at a year ago. Most buyers are, because of the interest rates, if they were looking at $500,000 homes, they've had to lower their budget down to about $400,000. So that has effectively reduce the number of buyers for your particular home. What you can do as a seller, so now you have the option to offer a 2-1 buy down to make so it makes your property more attractive to the buyers, because now you're saying, hey, I will make part of your payments for the first 2 years, and it's not going to cost you as much as you would think, compared to as if you were to actually lower the purchase price. Um, and then for sellers, here's some bullet points. It makes the price point more affordable. Buyers get a reduction in payments for the first 2 years. Price reduction may not be enough to entice, just a price reduction alone. It may not be enough to entice a buyer. Another way to market your home in a volatile market. All right, so let's look at some actual numbers. So this is based on a $400,000 purchase price, 5% down payment, 7% interest rate, 30-year fixed, and a $380,000 loan amount. So that's essentially what the 5% down off of 400,000. You would have a $380,000 loan. Okay. So the calculations on the right, interest rates. Year one is going to be 5%, like we talked about. Year two is going to be 6%. The monthly subsidy amount, this is what the seller is going to pay. And I'll explain how it gets paid and everything in just a second. But the monthly subsidy is going to be $488.23 for the first year and $249.86 for the second year. There's 12 months in the year, so there's going to be 12 payments of each one. And that fund total is there on the right-hand side for a total amount for the seller buy down is $8,857.08. Okay. So that's only a reduction of like just over 2%, like 2.2% off of the $400,000 purchase price. What happens a lot of times is you have a $400,000 home. The buyer comes in and says, "Hey, I'll give you a 380 for it. I'll give you a 375, something like that." That's now, $20,000 to $25,000 off of the purchase price. And why are they doing that? That's because they're trying to gain equity in the property. They're trying to lower their monthly payments and everything like that. This is a way for you to you're only giving out $8,800 off of the purchase price out of your pocket. And so you're selling your $400,000 house for essentially $391,000. So right here, I have the numbers. New purchase price is $400,000 minus the $8,857. So that gives you a sell price of $391,143. So that would be the buyer's purchase price, and then a 5% down payment on that. That gives the buyer a loan amount of $371,585 instead of what we saw before, which was the $380,000 loan amount. So they've essentially lowered their loan amount $9,000. So we know what the seller is paying towards the payments, but here's what it looks like for the buyer. So on year one, again, there's that $488 reduction that makes your payments right around $2,040. Year two, the reduction of $249, so that makes your payment $2,278. Year three, it goes back to whatever the original percentage rate was. And then your payment on this would be about $2,472. So to get a reduction in payment, the buyer would need to purchase the home basically for $73,000 less to get that same $488 reduction. They would have to buy a home for $73,000 less. So they could no longer buy your $400,000 home. They would have to be looking in the low threes, around 325 to 330. So that's a huge, huge difference. Some of the advantages for buyers, it allows the buyers to purchase a home that is more expensive, and it allows them to ease into the payments over 2 years. So you don't have to initially start making those payments on that 7% interest rate right away. The buyer can take advantage of appreciation. The buyer, and this is a big one right here, the buyer immediately gains equity. And then also within that 2 years, the buyer now has the option to refinance before the end of the buy down. Okay, so that's going to be key. So here's a win-win it's sort of a win-win for everybody. So the the seller is selling their house, and they're not having to reduce the purchase price by very much compared to a traditional negotiation with a buyer. So they're only reducing it a smaller amount. The buyer is getting a reduced monthly mortgage payment for the first and the second year. They can then refinance. So let's say in those first 2 years, the interest rates are, we got a 7% locked in. And now let's say interest rates are down to 5%. Let's say they've dropped back down. We can refinance that mortgage to get that, to lock in that lower interest rate now for the entirety of the loan. Then on the flip side, let's say we locked in that 7% interest rate, and for some reason we don't anticipate them to, but some reason the interest rates go up. Well, guess what? Interest rates are now 8%. You've locked in already at 7%. So if you would have waited to buy a house, you would have been at 8%, but now you were able to afford the payments for the first couple of years. You locked in a 7% interest rate, and the interest rates, over that time went up to, let's say, 8%. So you've come out on the better side again with going ahead and purchasing the home and locking in that 7% interest rate. Um, so a lot of advantages for both the seller and the buyer. That is all the slides I have. Now, these slides I sort of ripped off of the mortgage guy, Greg, from the mortgage firm. And if you have questions about this, you can reach out to me. My number is 386-222-2836. Or if you want to, I don't have his number handy. Shoot. But if you want to reach out to the mortgage guy, Greg Meyer, I've worked with him several times, and he's the one that he gave me a PowerPoint, and I kind of made it into what I needed for this. But he's got a lot of information, and he can go through it in a lot more detail than I went through it on here. But that is definitely a way that you can lower your interest or lower your mortgage payments right off the bat when you're buying a home, and you don't have to necessarily lower your budget. But if you can negotiate this 2-1 buy down program, then you're going to be doing really, really good at the end. All right, guys. Thanks for watching Morning Cup of RealTea. We hope to see you at the next one.